Hello everyone, Charles from Tandem Tea here with a video about my top 3 teas that I recommend to people who are just getting into loose leaf tea and want to train their palate. Each tea is from a different tea type. They're widely accessible. There's plenty of affordable options online, and they just have a really solid flavor profile that I would consider to be the gold standard for each type that they represent. I'm really excited to be drinking these teas today, sharing them with you, and getting you started on your tea journey. So let's not waste any time. Let's just get right into it. Yeah. So the first tea I have here is Bai Mudan. Bai Mudan is a very accessible entry-level white tea. White teas are basically tea leaves that have been picked and then left to wither and dry, and that's it. There's no production value that goes into it. It's the most minimally processed type of tea. Now, what makes a white tea Bai Mudan is basically that it's a white tea from China comprised of both leaves and buds. Lower grades might have some stems in them, but it's just basically a mixed bag of the different parts of the tea plant. That mixed bag makes it cheaper, but it makes it a more robust tea as well, so it's a great place to start for a beginner. Before we get into the tasting, I'm going to read to you a professional tasting note for Bai Mudan. The smell of fresh cut hay and fields of flower bathed in dew emanates from the steeped buds. The liquid, which tastes both sweet and vegetal, releases delicate notes of flowering clover and wheatgrass. Smooth and fluid, it leaves graceful aromas in which apricot and artichoke combine in the mouth. Its long, finished, honeyed, and thirst-quenching is soothing to the palate. Wow. I don't know if I'm getting artichokes or anything bathed in dew. If you don't pick up on any of that stuff when you drink yours, that is quite alright. Flavor notes that you need to get out of this is basically more of a floral flavor, almost like a honeysuckle, and I get like this bale of hay kind of flavor profile to it as well, but it's in a good way. It's like a very nice, like rolling plains kind of texture, and I think that's kind of what those tasting notes were getting at. You can get it as poetic as you want with it, as creative as you want. There's no wrong answers with tasting notes. But I like Bai Mudan. I like giving Bai Mudan to people training their palate, especially if they've never had white tea on its own before, because it's just a great way to taste those floral tasting notes that you wouldn't necessarily get in a green tea or a black tea. If you've had Bai Mudan and you've been drinking it for a while and you really like it and you're ready to take that next step, look into a silver needle. But honestly, silver needle is a lot of money for a beginner, and I think you would know that it would taste very good, but you would have a harder time appreciating it if you hadn't started with the white peony. So go ahead and try the white peony, aka the Bai Mudan, and get those floral, bale of hay, honeysuckle flavor palettes down, and then move on. So that's Bai Mudan, everybody. Let's get into the next tea. So the next tea I have here is one of my personal favorites. It's called Dragonwell, also known as Longjing. This is a green tea from China. Now with green tea, some beginners may have experience with tea bags or ordering green tea at a cafe, and they may have decided that they don't like it or they already understand what green tea tastes like. But I encourage you, no matter what your opinion of green tea is going in, to give Dragonwell a chance, because it is the loose leaf experience that you could never get from a tea bag. And the flavors that you get from this green tea, when brewed correctly, can give you so many flavors that aren't bitter or astringent, but actually quite vegetal and sweet. Let's go ahead and read some professional tasting notes for the Dragonwell. The tender green leaves harvested on the slopes of Shifang are a classic long, flat shape. Fine notes of seaweed and raw scallops emanate from the steeped leaves. The jade-green liquid releases a gentle vegetal aroma in the mouth. The The herbaceous attack is fresh and slightly sweet. The vegetal opening is full and followed by notes of green bean, cooked fennel, and arugula in a gently obnoxious stream. The finish is long in the mouth and mildly astringent, with a remarkable balance between sweetness and strength. That one had some very impressive vocab words. I'm going to have to break out a dictionary later, but it doesn't have to be that complicated. Use colder water when you're using the Dragon Well. Follow the directions on any of the packaging that you buy Dragon Well from. Make sure you do that and really appreciate that depth of flavor that results from being able to not scald those tea leaves. Let's get to tasting. So when you're drinking green tea, you want to pick up on what kind of vegetal is it? Is it more of a grassy vegetal or more of a seaweed vegetal? Most Chinese teas like the Dragon Well here are going to be pan-fired, which gives them more of a grassy vegetal compared to Japanese green teas that are steamed that have more of like a seaweedy vegetal. So definitely taste that. Definitely pick up on how maybe even slightly smoky, slightly floral it is. The finish on this is definitely nice and light, nice and crisp. That's something I personally really enjoy in a green tea. Teas like sencha have more of a full body, more of this kind of creamy texture to it, which is also good, but can be off-putting if you're not into that super vegetal flavor or not used to it. I think warming up with a more subtle, more well-balanced Dragon Well, getting used to some of those vegetal notes, and then going on to a tea like a sencha is a great place to start and really understand what the quality of green tea can really be. That was the Dragon Well, guys. Let's clear this aside and bring out the Ceylon. Well, guys, I have to tell you, I had a hard time picking a black tea. I originally was going to choose Assam, which is a black tea from Assam, India, but I felt that I had covered that in other videos. It's in my starter kit, and I wanted to pick something a little more smooth, one that wouldn't be as bitter to drink black, because for beginners, it may be the first time you're having black tea without milk or sugar. Let me go ahead and read you some tasting notes for Ceylon. The dark, beautifully regular leaves are twisted and hardly broken. Infusion releases an exceptionally aromatic bouquet and creates a bright vermilion liquid. The nose combines woody and fruity fragrances with accents of molasses. In the mouth, the slightly acidic attack is reminiscent of sun-dried tomato. The round liquid against a woody background develops a gentle bitterness. Mild peppery aromas and minty notes of wood tea and eucalyptus form a surprising combination in the full mouthfeel, with personality and a pleasant, astringent finish. Wow, another masterpiece. I'm definitely picking up on that woodiness and that bitterness, but I'm not picking up on any kind of eucalyptus or any kind of flowery language like that the tasting notes were describing earlier. And that could be for a wide variety of reasons. Don't feel like you have to taste something in your tea. Ceylon is such a blanket term for tons of different teas and tons of different price ranges and quality of leaf as well. So just kind of go in with an open mind and pick up one or two tasting notes. Could be anything. For me, the two notes that I'm getting, definitely woody and definitely kind of fruity. It's quite clean, but also leaves that slight astringency that's common in black teas, astringency, that dry feeling in your mouth. When you feel like you have your flavor notes kind of identified from your Ceylon and you like it and you want to try something else, try a black tea from India, say like an Assam, and try maybe a Yunnan black or Dian Hong as it's often called. And also try a couple different price points of each one. Ceylon is such a blanket term for so many different tea grades. Same with Assam, same with Yunnan Black or Dian Hong. So try some more affordable ones and work your way up and see if that extra price point kind of is justified in the flavor. Do you get more depth of flavor? Can instead of 2 tasting notes, you get 3 or 4? Does it become more smooth? Does it become more complex? That makes it worth the money. Alright guys, that was my top 3 teas for beginners to train their palate. I hope you learned something here. I hope you enjoyed those professional tasting notes. I know I certainly did. Gotta step up my game and gotta really be a poet to get those tasting notes. If you enjoyed this video, check out some of the others. If there's something you want to ask me, go ahead and leave it in the comments. I'd be more than happy to make another video answering any questions that you might have. Thank you so much for your time, guys, and as always, steep on steeping on. See you next time.